The 9 Danshari rules you're about to hear can completely transform the way you live, and that's not some empty promise or a feel-good catchphrase. These are simple yet profound principles rooted in Japanese wisdom. Principles that have helped millions of people around the world step out of the heaviness of modern life, a life that often feels too full on the outside, yet strangely empty on the inside. Have you ever felt like your home is overflowing with stuff, yet there's no corner that truly makes you feel light? Have you ever felt exhausted not just from work, but from the constant decisions you have to make each day? What to buy, what to keep, what to clean up next? Do you ever feel like you're constantly managing everything? Your things, your time, your thoughts? If so, I want you to know you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living like that. Danshari doesn't ask you to become a hardcore minimalist. It's not about giving everything up or living a life of deprivation. Quite the opposite. It's a gentle, grounded, and deeply mindful invitation to return to what truly feels enough. Today, I'm going to share with you 9 Danshari rules, 9 steps that, if you apply them with patience, one small moment at a time, without rushing, can begin to shift not just the way your home looks, but the way your breath feels, the way your mind clears, and the way you show up to your own life. So stay with me until the end of this video. I don't just want to take you through these 9 rules, I want to go deeper with you. I want to help you understand why each rule touches something so deeply personal, and how it's often the smallest things that bring us the greatest sense of freedom. 1. Refusing unnecessary shopping. Have you ever caught yourself realizing that the thing you just bought, the one you thought would bring joy, ended up sitting untouched in a corner of your closet? Shopping, in its essence, is a normal part of life. But when it turns into a habit or worse, a reflex, we begin to lose clarity in our choices. In today's fast-paced world, owning things has become almost too easy. With just one tap, an item lands in your cart. There's no pause, no second thought, no moment to ask, do I really need this? We live surrounded by seductive invitations, flashy sales, targeted ads designed to stir up a vague sense of lack, a quiet fear that if we don't buy today, we'll regret it tomorrow. But maybe what we regret most isn't the thing we didn't buy. It's the space we gave up: physical space, financial space, mental space. Every time we open our wallet, we're making a deeper decision than we realize. Often, it's not just a transaction, it's a reaction to loneliness, to stress, to that strange hollowness we can't quite name. Excess piles up quietly in unopened boxes, unworn clothes, things we forgot we even had. All these objects become proof of a yearning that things alone can't satisfy. We shop to fill a void, but the more we fill, the emptier it feels. And then, one day, our homes start feeling cramped not because they're too small, but because they're too full of things that don't belong. Among the clutter, our minds grow noisy, scattered, restless. There's a Japanese saying, if an object no longer serves the heart, it must go. Simple, yet it carries a quiet, meditative kind of decisiveness, a return to clarity. Refusing unnecessary shopping doesn't mean rejecting material things. It means learning to ask for the right things from life. We don't need more. We just need enough, and enough isn't when there's nothing else we want, but when we can look at what we have and feel gratitude. Start small. Pause before you buy. Ask yourself, what am I really looking for beneath this purchase? Instead of hitting buy now, wait 48 hours. If the item still lingers in your mind like a genuine need, maybe it's worth considering. But if it fades, maybe you never really needed it. Building in a pause to your buying decisions is how you reclaim agency over your space. Every item you choose not to bring home is an act of mindfulness. Every time you say no, you're saying yes to peace. Minimalism isn't about living with less, it's about letting go of what's too much. Because the space around you reflects the stillness within you. And when you learn to step past the pull of impulse, you move closer to a kind of freedom, a freedom that doesn't need to own just to feel full. 2. Refusing gifts and free items. There's a quiet kind of pressure that hides behind smiles and well wishes the pressure to hold on to a gift you never really needed. We often don't refuse gifts, not because we truly want them, but because something unnamed lingers beneath. Guilt, discomfort, the fear of offending, the worry of seeming ungrateful. But when we hold on to something just to spare someone else's feelings, we're placing their emotions above our own peace of mind and the clarity of our space. Some gifts, the moment we unwrap them, we already know we won't use. Yet we keep them anyway, letting them sit there in silence, unsure how to let go, unsure how to speak honestly. They pile up, quietly taking over shelves and drawers, and eventually, our mental space too. There's a Japanese saying, if you keep something out of guilt, you're the one living in silent debt. That debt isn't financial, it's emotional. It's the distance between what you truly want and what you feel obligated to accept. And each mismatched gift, no matter how well-intentioned, becomes a subtle weight on your shoulders. Refusing unnecessary gifts is a brave act. It's not cold or ungrateful, it's a way to live truthfully. You can honor someone's intention without keeping the item. You can still say thank you, sincerely and warmly, while gently offering, I truly appreciate your thought, but I think this gift may bring more joy to someone who truly needs it. In that moment, the gift isn't rejected, it's redirected, and the giver too is honored for their kindness. If you can't decline in the moment, it's okay to release the item later on. Don't punish yourself. We're not required to hold on to everything we receive. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the return of empty space. At times, it helps to set boundaries in advance, to share that you'd prefer no physical items, but instead shared experiences, meaningful moments, or consumables that won't take up space. A meal, a cup of tea, a memory. These things don't crowd our homes, but they linger beautifully in the heart. When we say no to what doesn't belong to us, we start saying yes to what truly matters. Because our living space is the most honest language of how we treat ourselves. If every object tells a story, let your home speak only of sincerity, not politeness disguised as clutter. And the same goes for the mind. It only feels spacious when we let go of what doesn't truly belong there, no matter how nicely it was wrapped. To refuse a gift that doesn't serve you isn't to reject the giver, it's to respect yourself and them. Because if a gift is never used, it will never fulfill its purpose, no matter how lovely the thought behind it. 3. Refusing mindless consumption. There's a quiet kind of craving that slips through every ad, every discount sign, every last chance today banner. It's the illusion of scarcity. We often think we need to buy something, but in truth, we're simply reacting to fear, the fear of missing out, of not having enough, of being left behind. A scarcity mindset robs us of clarity. It rushes us into decisions before we've even had a chance to ask the simplest question: do I truly need this? That urgency doesn't come from real necessity, it comes from illusion. And the price we pay for that rush isn't always on the receipt. It shows up in clutter, in things that don't belong, in the shrinking of space both around us and within us. We buy to fill a sense of lack, but the danger lies in how vague that lack really is. It could be loneliness, uncertainty, a quiet disconnection from ourselves. There's a fleeting moment right after we click buy, a little dopamine rush, a spike of excitement that feels like joy, but it fades fast. What's left behind is often regret, a strange emptiness, and sometimes even shame. We tuck the item away, try to forget we bought it, but our space doesn't forget. And every time we see it, it becomes a silent reminder of a decision made without alignment. The Japanese have a quiet wisdom for this. If you buy only to feel full, the emptiness will return even faster. Mindless consumption is a trade-off. We trade our time, the hours we work to afford it. We trade our energy to choose, to store, to organize. We trade our freedom because the more things we have, the less room we leave ourselves to breathe. And the most troubling part is how unconscious it becomes. Shopping turns into routine. We stop noticing. We stop choosing. Refusing mindless consumption takes deep awareness. It means learning to wait, not rushing into a purchase just because it's pretty or a great deal. It means learning to feel the difference between a real need and a passing desire. It means learning to live, knowing what's enough and what's simply too much. When we begin to spend on experiences instead of possessions, something shifts. We discover that memories last longer than things. Conversations, shared meals, the feeling of being seen. These moments never gather dust. They never go out of style. And in the end, every time we say no to something unnecessary, we are quietly saying yes to clarity, to simplicity, and to who we truly are. Because the space around us is a mirror of the stillness within, and only when we stop filling it with what's extra do we begin to see what's truly missing. 4. Living by the me and now rule. Here's a simple question, but if you pause and answer it with complete honesty, it might change the way you see your entire home. How much of what I own actually serves the person I am right now? Not the person you used to be, the one who once chased a forgotten hobby, held on to a half-formed dream, or clung to an older version of yourself. And not the person you hope to become someday, the idealized self, the maybe one day version you imagine, justifying why you're keeping things you never touch. But you, here, today. The me and now rule is a way of living with awareness. It doesn't ask how much you own, it asks how much of it still walks beside you on your present path. Because if you're not careful, your home can become a museum of the past and a storage unit for unfinished futures. Every object holds an open-ended story, a door left ajar, a low hum in the background of your mind. The Japanese have a philosophy that reaches the heart of letting go. What is no longer part of the present no longer belongs in your space. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means acknowledging that you've changed, that some things were once meaningful, once beautiful, but they no longer fit. And that doesn't make you ungrateful. It just means you're being honest. There's a quiet relief in realizing that decluttering doesn't have to be a battle with stuff, it can be a conversation with yourself. Each question becomes a gentle nod. Do I still need this? Does this reflect who I am today? And if the answer is no, then that's your invitation to release it, not because the item has no value, but because you no longer need to be held back by something that no longer feels like you. Living by the me and now rule means more than tidying up your home. It's about drawing a clear line between who you were and who you are becoming. You begin to see what truly nourishes you now, and what's merely a shadow of a memory. Your space becomes lighter, no longer a place of accumulation, but one of intention. A space quiet enough to hear your own thoughts. Because only when we make room for the present can joy find its way in. 5. Letting go of one item per day. If decluttering ever feels like too big of a task, too overwhelming, too many decisions at once, then maybe the gentlest way to begin is this. Let go of just one item a day. Just one. A shirt you no longer wear. A book you know you won't reread. A decoration that no longer brings joy. Something small. Yet in the quiet act of removing it from your space, you're also lifting a small weight off your mind. This approach may seem simple, but it's surprisingly powerful. Because transformation doesn't always come with dramatic gestures, it often arrives through quiet, consistent movement. One item a day means 365 shifts a year. No need for grand plans, no need for all or nothing effort. Just a bit of listening and a bit of letting go every day. The Japanese hold a soft, profound wisdom. Letting go little by little is how you preserve long-lasting peace. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. At first, there may be hesitation, a bit of attachment, but soon you begin to see clearly there are things you haven't touched for years, and yet you've kept them as if they had earned a permanent place. The truth is, inertia doesn't always come from a lack of time or energy. It often comes from allowing too many unnecessary things to remain, to take up space, to justify our delays. Each item released is a piece of energy set free. Your space becomes more breathable, and your mind starts to feel lighter, clearer, more in control. This isn't just about decluttering, it's a way to retrain your sense of enough. You begin to realize how little you actually use compared to how much you own, and everything else? It only blurs your focus, dulls your gratitude, and feeds a false sense of lack. By letting go of one item each day, you gradually shift from a mindset of just in case to one of I already have enough, from accumulation to intention, from ownership to experience. And little by little, you're not just organizing a room, you're reshaping how you live, how you think about yourself, and how you make space for what truly matters. Because letting go of one thing is also learning not to cling to what's already past. And once you've learned that, life begins to feel simpler and somehow more complete than ever. 6. The 5-minute tidy rule. Some days, the thought of tidying the whole house feels like an impossible task. Everywhere you look, there's something out of place, something unfinished, and your mind keeps circling between wanting to begin and feeling quietly overwhelmed. But here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to do everything at once. Just 5 minutes is enough. The 5-minute tidy rule might sound modest, but within it lies a gentle shift in how we relate to our space and our habits. Each day, simply set a timer for 5 minutes. Choose a small area, a table surface, a kitchen corner, a windowsill, and begin. There's no pressure to be perfect, no need to finish it all. Just show up. and clear a little. Because often, the biggest obstacle isn't the task itself, it's the thought of it. 5 minutes is short enough to bypass procrastination, yet long enough to make a visible difference. One clean surface today might inspire a deeper reset tomorrow. The Japanese carry a quiet philosophy, soft as breath. Outer order is a ritual for inner alignment. When you give yourself 5 minutes to tidy a corner, you're sending a message to your mind you are worth the effort of living in a space that feels cared for, not for anyone else, but for your own sense of peace. And slowly, you begin to notice the quiet benefits. Less mess means less tension. Your eyes can finally rest. Your breathing evens out. And strangely, a sense of confidence begins to return, sparked by one small act, done with consistency. 5 minutes may not change your whole home, but it can change how you feel about yourself. And if every day you return to that tiny moment, 5 minutes of tending to your space like a private ritual, then gradually, your home won't just look neater. It will become a place where you truly feel at ease. 7. Detaching from material attachment. Some objects are more than just things. They carry our emotions, stretch like an invisible arm of memory, and quietly hold space for what we haven't dared to face. When we pick up an old shirt, a photograph, or a keepsake we no longer use, it's not simply about whether to keep or toss. It's the collision between past and present, between who we once were and who we're becoming. Material attachment isn't always obvious. Some people hold on to everything out of fear of lack. Others throw things away without hesitation, just to avoid the emotions that might surface. And many of us linger somewhere in between, unsure which path would bring more peace. There's a Japanese teaching that stops you in your tracks. If an object no longer serves the heart, it must go. But truly letting go of something we've been attached to means looking directly at the relationship we've formed with it. Not just asking, do I still use this? But something deeper. What am I clinging to here? A memory? A sense of safety? An old version of myself? It's hard to admit, but sometimes our things are holding us back, not because they're valuable, but because we fear the loss we think we'll feel without them. Non-attachment doesn't mean not feeling. It's a kind of peaceful clarity. It's when you can hold something from the past, smile at it, feel grateful, and then gently set it down without regret. It's knowing that the memory doesn't live in the object, it lives in you, in a place no one can take away, where no symbol is needed to preserve it. And the strange thing is, once you begin to let go, you realize you're not losing anything. You're actually creating space for yourself. Space not just to breathe, but to hear yourself more clearly. Letting go of an object is like releasing a thread wrapped quietly around your heart. With each release, that heart feels lighter, more open, and more ready to hold what truly nourishes it. 8. Applying the 80% rule. There's a simple yet deeply wise principle. Live at 80%. Leave the other 20% for breathing, for stillness, for what has yet to arrive. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more tasks, more things, more experiences, choosing to stop at 80% is a quiet act of resistance. It doesn't come from lack, but from awareness, a deep understanding that the more we fill, the less space we leave for life to truly unfold. The Okinawans call it hara hachibu, eating until you're 80% full. Minimalists apply it to time working at 80% capacity. And in the world of Danshari, it means keeping only what truly belongs to the present, just enough to use and to love. 80% is enough to feel full, but just empty enough to make room. And that space, that little bit of intentional emptiness, is where the mind can finally stretch and breathe. The Japanese hold a beautiful belief. Empty space is not a void, it's where life enters. As were, in your home, when you keep only what's essential, the items you truly use, truly cherish, you return breath to the space itself. The walls begin to reveal their quiet beauty. Light finds its way into corners. And your thoughts, too, begin to clear. In your schedule, when you leave gaps, unplanned moments, blank hours, you invite flexibility. A surprise visit, a slow afternoon, a pause without purpose. And it's within those margins that creativity begins to bloom. Even within your body, when you stop just before fullness, you're practicing awareness, not out of fear or restriction, but out of respect. To eat not just for flavor, but with sensitivity to when enough is enough. Living at 80% is an intentional choice. It's the refusal to cram in just because you can. It's a way of living that leaves space for spontaneity, for stillness, for yourself. 9. creating space for experience, not possession. Here's a quiet truth that gently invites us to pause and reflect. The most meaningful memories in life aren't stored in things, they live in moments. An afternoon filled with laughter in a small kitchen, a spontaneous trip to somewhere unfamiliar, a quiet evening with nothing but rain outside and peace within. None of these can be folded into drawers. They don't need containers. They don't require cleaning or maintenance. They only ask to be fully lived, and then they stay with us, tucked gently inside something we call memory. We often believe we need to keep objects in order to hold on to memories. But in reality, the item is just a symbol. The emotion it points to has long since been etched into our hearts. A necklace might remind us of someone dear, but what we truly treasure isn't the necklace, it's a glance, a hand held, a laugh shared in a moment that can never be recreated. There's a quietly profound Japanese belief. To preserve the heart is greater than to preserve the object. When the heart remembers, the memory lives on. When we begin to let go of excess things, we're also making space for life to move again. Empty space isn't just aesthetic, it's functional. It gives breath back to our surroundings. A decluttered room becomes a quiet stage where conversations unfold, silences hold meaning, and unscripted moments are allowed to happen. The less we own, the more we tend to live. Unburdened by the need to manage, dust, or organize our possessions, we find ourselves with more time to step outside, connect more deeply, and listen inwardly. Because joy isn't found in having more, it's found in the ease of choosing what truly matters. We don't need to preserve every experience, because the best ones shape us the moment they happen. And when you create space for experience, you're creating space for life. A life that doesn't need to be full of things to feel full. A life where each day feels like a blank page, not cluttered with the weight of the past, but open to the beauty of presence and real connection. The space around you becomes a stage for the most invisible things: emotion, kinship, aliveness. And when you stop accumulating, you finally start living. Now that we've walked through all 9 Danshari rules together, I want to invite you to pause and really listen to yourself. Which of these lessons struck a deeper chord? Which one made you stop and think, this is exactly what I need right now? And if you were to take just one small step toward change, where would you begin? I know change doesn't happen overnight. Letting go, simplifying, and living more mindfully isn't easy, especially when we've spent so long surrounded by excess or clinging to habits that no longer serve us. But Danshari isn't about being perfect. It's a gentle invitation to return to yourself, one breath, one drawer, one conscious moment at a time. Today, I have a simple request. Share in the comments which rule will you start with. What part of this video do you feel ready to put into practice in your own space, in your own life? To me, minimalism isn't about having less. It's about having more. More presence, more inner freedom, more real joy. And this journey becomes so much richer when we walk it together, when we learn from each other, and when we show up to support one another. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It not only helps me keep creating meaningful content, but it also ensures you won't miss anything that might inspire your next step forward. I truly hope these lessons don't just stay as words, but gradually find their way into your home, your daily rhythm, and your way of being in the world with lightness, with intention, and with a deep sense of presence.